The Weiss is really a community, and I've had the pleasure of working with some incredible people who live here locally and who have retired or moved on for a variety of different reasons. You know, we have worked together, we have laughed together, we have cried together, we've lost family members together, we've celebrated weddings and graduations and the birth of grandchildren. You know, we're still doing all of that and embracing each other and there for each other.
I'm honored to have you here at our studio today, Roxanne Davis. I'm proud to say that, what started off as just a business relationship has become a friendship, and I'm proud to call you friend. And I've gotten to know your husband Scott and your son Andy through the years, and I can vouch that you guys are family's important to you, and seeing you at work and on the job and the passion that you put into everything that you do and the energy that you have is very admirable. And I look up to you quite a bit in all those areas for the leadership that you've shown. So,
thank you, Robert. I consider you a friend too, and that's one of the wonderful things about my career has allowed me to cross paths with wonderful individuals like you and your crew.
Well, relationships are important to you. I know they're important to us. We've done no advertising since we started this company. It's all been about relationships and valuing, people, and we have, valued our time working with you and learned so much from you and your leadership abilities, seeing you take that dragon boat, and in the Dancing with the Woodlands star. I mean, all those events that you've just shown up and had so much energy and heart that was put into it. It's admirable. So
thank you.
I want to know where this came from. I want to know, for Roxanne Davis, you growing up, when that energy, was that something that you got from mom, from dad? Where did all this energy come from?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Nobody has quite asked me that. I was my parents had 3 children. I was the youngest, and I was also the only girl. I had 2 older brothers who I admired very much. One was a musician. The other was sports and photography. So it's where my love of cameras came, that also my dad too. And my love of music came from my older brother. Growing up in a family of boys, all boy cousins, seems like all my good friends in the neighborhood were boys. Needless to say, I was a tomboy. So I was very competitive, very sports driven, wasn't the girl that liked to play with dolls. One of my favorite Christmas gifts was a Tonka dump truck that my dad got me, and my own baseball glove. I didn't have to borrow the brothers anymore. So I don't know if that energy, my love to be outside, my love for sports, was part of that. Needless to say, I think all of that gave me a lot of self-confidence. My dad was of the mindset, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you don't mow the yard, take out the trash, learn to hitch the trailer up. We did a lot of camping, dump the wastewater and all of that. So I think that I look back on all of that, and that has served me well with my self-confidence and self-esteem. Getting together as a family was extremely important. My grandparents all lived in Houston, aunts and uncles. Needless to say, we always spent Christmases together. Just because they were in Houston, we always saw each other. But even family vacations, the grandparents went, the aunts went. And that's the way I grew up. And so when my parents passed, I know that was one of my mother's concerns, that, I hope your brothers will still stay together. Well, I have just taken that. I am the connector. I'm the one that brings the families together on both sides, extended family. And once again, that has served me well in how my career ended up in the event planning business. It just kind of happened. So
you alluded to it a second ago with the photography. You had said that you got that from, was it a brother?
Brother and my dad, yes.
Every time I see you at an event, you've always got a camera around your neck. I know that's important to you.
Capturing those memories are very special. And of course, just like you, we started with, film. I started with a little Instamatic and typically hand-me-downs. And then finally, I got my first 35 millimeter Mamiya. And then from there, we just, kept growing. And then the digital world came into play. And that's just been a game changer. But yes, I feel like that's the way the archives and the memories are so important. And that was one of my goals at the Y, was to capture all those archives and those memories, because it hadn't been done very well prior to me getting there. And I wanted to be sure and preserve as much as I could in my tenure there.
30 years ago, you started at the YMCA. You recently retired in December. What led your path to get to the YMCA?
That's a great story too. I had worked in a for-profit world in Conroe for quite a while. Kind of one of those people, very loyal, I stayed in that job for about 20 years. And then just one day it's like, I don't like this anymore. I don't particularly respect the person I'm working for anymore, and took a step back. And as things would happen, one of the PTO moms at the school was a YMCA staff person. So why don't you come work for me? And she was in childcare. It's like, I don't think so. But anyway, but she said, well, come talk to the Y staff. And they all, said, we need to hire you. The Y was just really starting to grow. The community was starting to grow. And I guess they saw some potential there. And me and the job just kind of grew over that 30-year period. I think I was originally hired part-time was to do a little bit of marketing and membership. Hard. I can't really remember what was my original job title.
So you just started putting on all kinds of hats, didn't you?
Yes. And that really continued on in my 30 years. It's like, if you don't know what to do with it, just give it to Roxanne and she'll make it happen. So.
Before you led there at the Y, weren't you doing something with soccer? And
Yes. So part of that, before coming on as staff, I started as a soccer coach. It was all through the school. Our kids all went to the Oak Ridge schools. It was Ford Elementary. And I decided it was time for Andy to play soccer, and signed him up for kindergarten soccer through the YMCA. I mean, that was the league to be on back in the day. And of course, they didn't have a coach. And so it's like, how hard can this be? I had enough sports background and had been around it, even though I'd never played soccer before. Most of us, most of the people my age didn't grow up playing soccer. Baby boomers. We're baby boomer. So anyway, I was like, how hard can this be? So I stepped up to be the coach. And, and I coached that team of boys probably through 5th grade. So we had a couple of seasons of soccer, and then we also played baseball, which really was my sport. That I could really coach well. But we all learned together. Then the dad stepped up. It's like, okay, this woman's got it together. And then they all of a sudden, they stepped up to help. Once they saw, my potential, I guess, or entrusted me. And it was a great opportunity, which just, that was sort of the beginning of my Y story with South County / the Woodlands Family YMCA. And I'll never forget going to a high school soccer game because Andy played JV soccer at Oak Ridge. And I looked out on the field and I'm going, half those kids were on my soccer team. I obviously did something right because I didn't know a thing about soccer when I started. And they continued their love of the game and did very well. So that did my heart well. But there's nothing like seeing a kid kick their first goal or hit that first ball and get on base. The smile on their faces. It wasn't about winning. Sure, winning is wonderful, but it was really just about letting the kids grow, learn new skills, build their confidence, and come together as a team. And we did that quite well.
So your time at the Y, there's so many milestones I'm sure that you have that you could pick out. But starting from the beginning, you've got some ideas and some creativity that's within you. What's one of the first things that you pushed at the Y? Said, okay, we'll give that a go.
Well, I started with, I guess, just small family events. They wanted to do these things, so I just kind of started making it happen. I guess the first really big thing, because the Y was just really getting going, and the growth of the Woodlands was the expansion of the Shadow Bend Y, because it was just, we were just, growing out of the walls. We had so many members, which was a good thing. And once again, we were, not necessarily the only game in town, but one of the more reputable, games in town right then during in the fitness industry, and the Y and the community was growing so much. So being a part of that expansion and planning the events to make that happen, just kind of opened the doors to future events. And as young as Andy was, he was my helper. He was always my little, PA guy, of course, with the help of his dad, who knew the business. But that's really kind of what launched Andy Audio.
Well, you mentioned Andy and his dad. And so as long as I've known Andy and Scott, they've both been extremely hard workers, definitely put their heads down and get it done. I've seen some of Scott's work with building cases and things for Andy and how handy he is outside. When you married Scott, did he have that same amount of energy, or that something that kind of came from you?
I think that just came out of growing up and the necessity to, this needs to be fixed, very limited budget. And you just, the car needs to be fixed. Let's figure out how to make it happen. And I think, and we all just kind of grew up that way. We just were forced to learn to make do and make it work within our budget. And he's just one of those guys that's not afraid to tackle anything. And Andy has learned well from him.
Yeah, you've got a driven, mother and father like you and Scott, and I've seen, the drive that he has. And you and Scott are able to see a lot of amazing sights on the back of a motorcycle. But when Scott first got that motorcycle, I heard that there was, some tension that was there. Can you tell me that story?
Well, that the current motorcycle we have is not the first motorcycle we've had. And at first, I was a little hesitant of motorcycles because back when I was in probably early high school, a couple of friends, families, there was a terrible accident and they were on a motorcycle and they did not survive. So I was a little hesitant, just kind of had some bad feelings about motorcycles. But, I also love convertibles. So the motorcycle is really the ultimate convertible. So we've always been safe, always wore helmets. I've learned to enjoy it. And the current motorcycle we have is really very much a cruising bike. So it's very comfortable. It's big. And I feel very safe with him driving and me just hanging on to the back. And there's nothing like seeing the mountains from the back of a motorcycle.
Yeah. And I can just imagine you back there with your camera.
Yes. With my camera. Yes.
So Scott's put a lot of miles on that bike. Is he part of what it's called, the Iron Butt Club? Is that what it's called?
I think he's close to it. He's done some long trips without me. You go, dear. I don't need to do that, But yes, I think he is.
You've seen a lot of amazing sights, of all the places you've seen. What are some of the top?
People ask me, and I have family sides. There are other states in this country besides Colorado, but it's just one of our favorite. Seeing the Rocky Mountains in the fall, the aspens changing colors, it's beautiful. That's, the unique thing about, some of the states, they have all these seasons that we don't have here. What do we have? Summer and summer, but seeing the fall colors, but then come back a couple of months later and see it with the snow. It's pretty amazing. But yes, there are some other places that we have been. I've seen the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. It's just unbelievable. I've seen the Grand Tetons. That's an unbelievable sight. When I was in high school, we went to Banff, and I've always wanted to go back. So that's an August trip back up to Banff. That memory of what I saw has always just been embedded in my brain, and always wanted to go back. So we're going to do that. Yellowstone National Park is amazing. It's just an amazing place to be. When my daughter lived on the East Coast in Washington, D.C., I got to see the cherry blossoms in full bloom, and that is a sight to behold as well.
Wow.
So,
well, we're getting ahead of ourselves here and talking about post-retirement. Let's go back to some of the time with the Y. You'd mentioned these family events that you're able to set up along the way, and that grew to bigger type things. So we've been fortunate enough to be a part of some of the amazing things that you've done with the backpacks. There's just a list of things, but instead of me recounting those, tell me some of the things in the order as it started to grow and became things like Dancing with the Woodland Stars and the smaller milestones that you got there. Did you just start gaining confidence to really start getting creative?
So I guess the first big event was the run, which actually the first year we did it was in 1994, and some leaders in Oak Ridge. It was a fun run back in the day just to help raise money for Oak Ridge High School.
And we're talking about Thanksgiving?
Yes. So this would have been just the beginning of what we now know as Run Through the Woods. Some community leaders of Oak Ridge, one of them, which was on the Y board, approached the Y. We have this little fun run. We'd like for it to grow, but we still want to be the benefactor, Operation Graduation, as well as the ROTC program. And they got the Y involved. And that was in 1994, and it was called Run to the Mall. So that was the year the mall opened. And the race, start and finish line was at the mall. And the race went over Lake Woodlands into Oak Ridge North by the high school and looped back around. That was 1994. I think originally that race started, if they had 50 people, they were excited. I remember the first year being, I think we had a little over 200 registered. I was not a runner. I was just sort of, one of the, tell me what to do today, helping with making sure we had enough bananas, enough water, and all of that type of thing. And then the next year they decided, this would be better if we did it on Thanksgiving. And I was thinking, who's going to come out on Thanksgiving morning and run? I had no experience in that. Well, the next year it was the Gobbler 5 miler, and it was still at the mall. And it was on Thanksgiving Day. And I remember looking back on statistics, we had over 500. So our enrollment had doubled. And so, well, maybe this is, and of course, over the years, I just kind of kept assuming more roles as leadership changed. Roxanne's still there to just kind of pick up the pieces and make all this keep happening. So in 1996 is when it really took hold, and we got a title sponsor and got a lot of sponsors behind us. And that's when the Pavilion, our good friends at the Pavilion, became the venue host. And that was in 1996. So fast forward to 2023, we had almost 5,000 participants.
Wow.
And we have so many people who do it year after year after year. It's such a tradition. And every year when I get up on that stage and look at all those runners down, Lake Robbins, it's just overwhelming. I was like, and they're all out there to run Walk for a Cause, and they continue to do it to support the event. It has been my honor to have been sort of just assume the role of race director over the years to make it happen. But an event like that takes a village. Yeah. So, but that was the beginning of my running events. And then fast forward to Dragon Boat, 1999, one of the leaders with the Woodlands back then, I think it would have been the Woodlands Development Company, had been on the East, Midwest, and saw Dragon Boat racing. And of course there's a dragon, in the lake, in Lake Woodlands over there by where the Woodlands Parkway passes over the lake. Says, we need this in the Woodlands. We need dragon boat races in the Woodlands. And he came to the Y and said, you all are just the organization to make this happen. And it was not a person you said no to, They were a very good friend of the Y. And so that was the beginning of the Dragon Boat, in 1999. The American Dragon Boat Association brought 2 boats down with their crew, and we all learned together. And it became this very unique team building event in the community that everybody wanted to be a part of. And they were all racing for dragon boat rights. And these stuffed dragons, I just thought, wouldn't that be cute, just to give everybody a big stuffed dragon? Well, that continued and still continues. I told everybody, you can't change this. This is tradition. Don't be changing the awards when I leave. But yeah, that's quite an event that brings people together. I mean, once again, it was all to connect people and just have some fun and get people out and enjoy the sunshine and just get a little active. And it was so fun hearing everybody laugh. I know you've been there, you've witnessed it. It just brings out the best in people. Mm-hmm. And that was how Dragon Boat all came around.
Well, you mentioned the run growing from 500 to 5,000. Mm-hmm. What's Dragon Boat? Was it a one-day event when you first started?
When we first started, I think it was 2 days. I think we did like a Friday afternoon and possibly all day Saturday.
Just 2 boats, though?
Uh-huh. Just 2 boats. So we only had, because we didn't know. And so each bracket, I think, had 8 teams. Then the next year, we brought, I think it's when it grew to 4 boats because we saw, we basically sold out. We only had so much space, and it just kept growing, and I can remember pre-COVID, I don't know if it was 2018, 2019, we did it all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Wow. It was sold out. Wow. That was a lot of people, and we're out there from dawn to dusk, the staff, the amazing volunteers that are there to help. It's pretty amazing.
Well, it's funny how the Woodlands had the Dragon before they had the Dragon mm-hmm. boat. And so you were able to bring that in. And then in 2022, something happened. They announced that they were...
Yeah, so this wonderful organization called the American Dragon Boat Association was made up of individuals that, accountants, lawyers, they all had day gigs, but they had a passion for dragon boat racing and did this on the weekend and had this nonprofit where they owned the boats and they would go out and help organizations like us have a fun event. But then they did a lot of competitive, very serious events. Well, as they got older, I think, they had a lot of their people's like, we don't want to travel anymore. We're getting too old to do this. And this group of people we had worked with since 1999. So they saw the commitment, the passion, and the impact that the Y has on the community. And I remember having this conversation when he called me. He said, this is what's happening. We have been known to donate the boats to a nonprofit. Would you be interested? I go, oh, yes, sir. We would be very interested. I was just so excited that they had, trusted us, that we would continue the tradition and keep it going. And so in 2022, when they brought the boats down from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, the boats stayed with us. And they now live at Camp Cullen up on Lake Livingston, the YMCA Camp Cullen. And they use them with summer camp as well.
Wow.
So they're in good hands.
Exciting. Well, I hope you've passed down your contact for these great dragons you've ordered over the years.
Absolutely.
You've probably, how many dragons do you think you've ordered?
Oh, my goodness. It gets to be a challenge to find dragons I haven't given out. You figure 6 times, it would have to be thousands and thousands of dragons. And I'm sure people who are processing these invoices downtown, what is with all the stuffed dragons? But yeah, quite the tradition.
So Dragon Boat's been hugely successful as far as team building and bringing companies together. And, for those, and I know you've retired, but for those that might be interested in 2024, what do they need to do to be a part of that?
They just need to pay attention to the website, pay attention to the media. Registration usually opens up around May 1st. Just call the Y and they'll pass the information on. But it is, I think the date's already been set. The park is reserved. I think it's September 26th through the 28th. It's a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday event now. So just keep watching your local media. Follow the YMCA Facebook page.
Something else fun that you have been hugely part of is the dancing events.
Yes.
Have you always loved to dance? Where did this come from?
That's interesting. So, and of course, all of these events are raising money for the Y, and makes a huge change and allows us to serve the community in so many more ways with these special events. So our Lake Houston YMCA, our sister Y, has been doing a dancing event for quite a few years, and we'd kind of been watching that. Our fall was very busy with Dragon Boat and the Run and some other little events. So back in 2013, we decided, this would be a great event for our community, but we need to do it in the spring. And it's a spinoff of Dancing with the Stars, and it has been so well received. COVID, unfortunately, kind of was an obstacle. You can't ballroom dance and be 6 feet apart, So 2019 was the last year that we had the Dancing with the Stars prior till 2023 because of COVID. And that was really one of my goals. In fact, my boss said, okay, this is not in the budget. This has been a crazy last couple of years. You don't have to do this. I said, I want to do this. You all need to see, because he had never seen ours. You all need to see the power and the impact that this event has on the community, unlike any of our other events, because it gives us really an opportunity to showcase and share the YMCA story in a way we can't do it at an outdoor event. And that was really one of my goals before I retired, that I got the dance back up and going again. And so many of the cast from 2020, you got to remember, they were already practicing. We had the date set, and then COVID hit in March. And I kept following up with this cast, and probably more than half of them stayed with us, and they danced in 2023. But it's an event like no other. When people approach me, I want to dance. It's like, that's great, but it's not really about the dancing. It's about supporting the why. Who do you know? You're dancing for a cause, so you're dancing to raise money, regardless of what your dancing skills are. Dancing just gets everybody there, I have met some of the most incredible people. I always tell the cast, I have just made 12 new friends, and we have remained friends. And they're always wanting to come back. How can I help? I'll dance again. Some say I'll never do it again, but many say I will dance again. I loved it. It was the best decision of my life.
And there's one coming up this year as
There
well.
is, March 28th.
Have you got anybody signed up yet?
They are working on that. So, I say, it's not my problem anymore. They actually asked me to dance, but because of my schedule, I said, come back to me next year. That is definitely on my bucket list, would be to dance. I'm not a dancer. I'm a musician. I was in band. My girls took dancing, but I do love music. So I already know the song I would dance to as well.
You already have it picked out.
Yeah, I always tell people, you need to pick your favorite song. What makes you feel good and want you to start moving. That's what I always tell people, and they don't know. I don't know what to dance to. What's your favorite song?
Love it.
I have one.
Oh, we'll keep that as a secret for
Yes,
when you actually
absolutely.
dance one day. Tell me about there's a lot of great ideas that you've had and things that you've seen that have come to fruition throughout your years. What are some big ideas that you had that never happened that you wish could have happened?
Oh, that's a good question. A lot of our grandiose ideas was a lot of times budget was an obstacle. Obviously, we're a nonprofit. We're here to serve the community, so we have to be good stewards of our dollars. Even as you see that you're crowded, you need to do these different things. You still have to maintain what is our mission. And so there were probably some things that we wanted to do, but we just couldn't do. The Y is very resourceful. It's very flexible, and it responds to the needs of the community. So the current Y was opened in '86. It needs some upgrading. So that'll be a process of how do we be good stewards as well as do what needs to be done. So I know that's a work in progress, which I won't be a part of, but I'll certainly be available to help.
You've obviously impacted so many people, and we've been fortunate enough to capture some of that impact that you've made. And one of those impacts has been just right down the road here at Mission Woods.
Yes.
Tell me about what happens right down the road here.
Wow. I think as much as we all try to tell the Y story, a lot of people just don't realize what the YMCA does in the community. So we have this wonderful program, it's our outreach program. And that's where the Y goes out to the community and serves families who are probably, have extremely limited resources, or one day they have a job, the next day they don't, or somebody in the family now is, got a terrible disease. But the Y is there to help them pick up the pieces and get going again. And so we have what we call our caring community centers, and they're mostly located in communities where most of the families are, live at or below poverty level. Many times English is also the second language, so there's several barriers now that they're dealing with. But in the apartment complex called Mission Woods, we have been there where we provide after-school care. The the management has been very gracious to basically give us their community room. They believe in the power of the Y and how their community needs the Y. So we go to them and make it much easier. So we, open up those doors and provide enrichment activities after school. It's no charge to the families. And those dollars are all raised through all the different events we've been talking about. That's a small portion of where a lot of that funding comes from. And then we serve that community based on what their needs are. It's providing enrichment opportunities. Maybe it's teaching English, parenting classes. Safety around water is a big thing. Most of those apartment complexes have swimming pools, but there's no lifeguards. And most of these families, they have to make a decision. Do I buy groceries? I don't have money to go take my child to learn how to swim. Well, the Y comes in and provides all that at no cost. Yeah. Safety around water is one of our big strategies because drowning is preventable. We just need to teach the children as well as the adults how to swim. So safety around water is a big thing during the warmer months. We come to that pool and open up register, come here. We're going to spend a couple of weeks with you to teach you water awareness, safety around water, as well as the parents. Food pantry is another one. Families have to make a terrible decision. Do I buy groceries or do I pay rent? And we have a food pantry in conjunction with the Montgomery County Food Bank where families can come in and shop and get what they need.
Yeah.
It's amazing what all the Y does to serve the community.
Well, you say shop, but it's all free.
It's all free.
Yeah,
it's all free.
Your staff and the volunteers there at the Y will set up these tables, and it's a spread of not just you throwing out food. This is fresh, good food.
This is, like I said, it's in conjunction with the Montgomery County Food Bank. And then we'll have we did a lot of mobile food markets during COVID. That's really where my awareness about food insecurity really is like, these are just things that we take it, we just take things for granted. And then when you see all of a sudden people had a job one day, the next day they were all laid off through no fault of their own. We saw a huge need. We had this huge parking lot. It's like, let's do this. And I remember that first mobile market. I'd never been involved in that process. And we said, we'll start serving food at 8:00. The trucks show up and we're all sorting food and had all these boxes and boxes and boxes, lots and lots of volunteers and staff. And I looked down the road, and we had created a traffic jam. Cars were lined up way down Research Forest, way past Kirkendall, if you know where Shadow Benoit is. I was just like, oh my gosh, it's 8 o'clock. There's already more cars in line than we can serve. And I remember asking the first car in line, it was a gentleman. I said, what time did you get here? He says, I got here at 3. I'm desperate. I had to make sure I had brought home food for my family. And we saw that time and time again. And as the cars were coming through and were loading, these people are so gracious and have a smile on their face. You just want to give them all that you can. And I look and I see several cars with staff families, people I had been working with just a couple of days ago, and they're in line now. And you can see it still just breaks my heart. That is a memory I'll never forget. But the Y was there to help them. And staff came in. It's like, I know Miss Kathy can't get here, and I know she needs food. So they came to get a box of food and delivered it to her.
Wow.
The Y is such a community.
Yeah,
So,
it's a family.
yes.
You've got so many family members that you've seen come and go throughout the years.
Absolutely.
And that family that you've had around you for so long, now that you're retiring, how much connectivity do you think you'll still have with your family?
It's the Y is really a community, and I've had the pleasure of working with some incredible people who live here locally and who have retired or moved on for a variety of different reasons, but we have still stayed connected. So we're forever Y family, and we're all so very thankful that the Y brought us together. We have worked together, we have laughed together, we have cried together, we've lost family members together, we've celebrated weddings and graduations and the birth of grandchildren. We're still doing all of that and embracing each other and there for each other. And, we try real hard to get together at least once a month. And then the first people who will stand up, they know the run's coming up. All right, when are we stuffing packets? Our Dragon Boat's coming up. What do you need help with? They know it, and they want to be a part of it.
So as a family member of the Y, you've been impacted by all the things that you've seen, and you've impacted so many lives. So another one of those things that you've done to impact lives is Operation Backpack. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that initiative.
Operation Backpack. That's Operation Backpack, and I'm going to toss an Angel Tree as well, along with, what the work we're doing at Mission Woods. That's really what the Y is all about. That's my passion and purpose, why I look forward to getting up to going to work every day. Driving down the road from Oak Ridge to Research Forest to Shadow Bend for 30 years. I made that trek. And seeing the smiles on the faces of the children and the families that we serve. And it's something as simple as making sure those kids have the basic school supplies they need to start school. As a parent, you think how much you spend on your child to get them ready for school. Well, a lot of families don't have that extra $100 or $200 to do that. And they may just be, using an old hand-me-down backpack, or the kids don't even have notebook paper. So Operation Backpack was designed to make sure every child had the basic supplies to be successful for a school year. And that we have served, annually, we serve 500, 600, 700 children, and we give them these nice new backpacks stuffed with supplies. I mean, they're extremely heavy. And just seeing the gratitude on their faces and the parents' faces, as well as the school district. They know the Y is making a huge difference. We've got to all work together to make sure these children are taken care of. And then Angel Tree is kind of the same type of program, but it's really all about bringing joy to the holidays, because most of these families, they don't have a Christmas, and we have this Angel Tree program, and it's pretty humbling when you have this paper ornament written on the back, the child, their gender, their age, what size, what their wants, needs, and wishes are. They need shoes, they need socks, they need a sweater. I would like to have a football, or I need a football helmet, or I'd like to have a baseball glove. Just the basic, things that our children have that, they have way too much. And then there's other families who can barely afford one gift under the tree. And Angel Tree is really all about bringing the joy back into the world and a glimpse of hope that the next year is going to be better for them. Yeah. So that is one of my favorite events, when we distribute all those gifts and seeing those kids walk out with a brand new bicycle. Or I should say they ride their bike through the parking lot with helmets, and seeing the parents, the glow in their faces, knowing that they're going to have a good Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, something that you also have a personal touch into people's lives is some of the classes that you lead. Has that been something you've enjoyed? And tell me about the classes that you've
Yeah,
led.
so I've always been one of the Y staff that has thoroughly enjoyed the benefits of being a staff member where I can just walk down the hall and work out. I think that goes back to my childhood of being a tomboy, loving sports, being outdoors, want to stay strong. And as I get older, I want to stay strong and healthy so I can continue to do the things I want to do. So I've always taken advantage of all the classes and been able to work out. Had no excuse, just walk down the hall, put on my tennis shoes. So we brought Body Pump to the Y probably 20 years ago. I remember being part of the demo group. Hey, come try this out. What do you think? This was just the beginning of the world of Les Mills, who are quite well known in the wellness industry now. And it was a choreographed music class for strength training, which is not something that has happened before. And we all loved it. It just became extremely popular. So I would go several times a week. And I remember the fitness director coming to me and said, I know how much you love Body Pump. I need a Body Pump teacher to teach noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you're sort of like already here. The training's going to be in Conroe. I'm going to pay for you to go. You need to do this. And I hadn't thought about it. It's like, why not? I'll give it a try. Well, that was the best decision I'd ever made. So I've been a Body Pump instructor for over 10 years. And I absolutely love it. And it's such a unique way to connect with the members and share my love and passion for wellness. And I think as I've gotten older, I've inspired others to do it. Oh, you're not too old you can never be too old to get strong and do weights. Especially women, they tend to shy away from strength training. The whole strength training weight room kind of scares them because it's usually it's been a male-dominated world. And this kind of gets them more comfortable and gets them into the strength training world in a group environment with other people around them, choreographed to fun music. And that was one of the best decisions that somebody encouraged me to do, and I accepted the challenge. And I will continue to teach. That's my next chapter, the Y story.
So yeah, let's talk about that. Recently, you were honored at an event. I know you don't like spotlight on yourself. I know you're humble and you would rather shine that on someone else than yourself. But you were honored, and there was a little bit of a spotlight shined on you. That event that happened over at Woodforest, was that a surprise to you? And as far as the guests that were there and people that you saw,
some of it was. A lot what happened at the event was very much a surprise because they made sure I wasn't part of the planning process, like I normally am for a Y event. So it was quite unusual for me. I helped with the guest list to make sure, certain folks that were there. I didn't want to assume anything with the other person doing the invite. There were definitely some surprises. I didn't know my children were going to be a part of it, speak and share their version of my Y story. And then the other announcement that came along, from Missy.
yeah.
So that was quite a big surprise, quite an honor.
So you've been chosen as the 2024 Hometown Hero.
Yes.
And what does that mean to you?
That's, I can remember over the years as these individuals were recognized, and certainly with my Y career and living in Montgomery County all of my life, I certainly know a lot of these people or know of them and have the utmost respect for what they have done in the community. And to be a part of that circle, I just enjoy serving and giving back to the community. And I've had the pleasure of finding a job that allowed me to do that and to meet all these incredible people and to make the impact I have. It was never a job for me. And then to be honored, to be recognized for that service that I so much enjoy doing, it's a little overwhelming. You just, sometimes you don't realize the impact you're making on people until you hear it from others. But like you say, it takes a village. Nobody can do any of this type of work by themselves. And I have been so blessed with a strong village from my family, from my friends, from the community partners to the Y staff and everybody else. You can't do it without everybody. And I was just sort of the one putting all the pieces of the puzzle together.
You made mention about the team, the village that came together, and the family aspect that you mentioned. you getting together with your family, I know, is important too, and you do that on a regular basis. And so, actually, in the next few days, you're going to take another family
Yes.
trip here pretty soon. Your family's going to come together. You work so hard in everything that you've done over the last 30 years, and when you relax, it really feels like you know how to relax and how to take advantage of that. Tell me what relaxing things about to happen for you.
Relaxing to me, I don't sit still very long. So when people said you're retiring, I can't imagine. I was like, well, I'm not going to quit doing things. I'm just going to change my routine up a little bit. But I do enjoy hanging with the grandchildren. I do enjoy putting the top down and going for out the sunshine and fresh air does a world of good for me. I also enjoy riding my bike. I also enjoy working out. And teaching my classes to me is leisure. So, and then of course traveling, hanging and going to see this beautiful country, and staying active. It's all about community. It's all about staying connected and staying active and just, taking advantage of all the opportunities that are out there.
Well, something that Bella Media has learned from Roxanne Davis is in your last 30 years, we've been around for 20, so we met you sometime after we first got started. But you have to develop these relationships with these community partners because you need them to come in to help with events. And so I've watched you not just call upon people out of the blue, but it's relationships you've had for so many years and authentic, real relationships that you've been able to develop. And so we've alluded to this earlier about not advertising and having these relationships, and that's something that you exemplify extraordinarily well because I see the friendships that you have with not just one of our clients is Repsol, and those times that they've come together. Now Repsol has gone through a change in the guard numerous times, but because of the relationships that we've made and you've made, they're still a part of both of our lives in big ways.
Yes.
And so those relationships, now that you won't be calling them to ask them to come dance or to come run or row.
It's going to be sad, but I think, and those were some text and emails going back and forth with, community partners like you that I've worked with over all these years. And I made sure that all my people coming behind me, it's like, okay, you stay connected. But, they all have everybody's email address and phone number. And I know they'll reach back out to me. I told them I'm not going anywhere. I'm always here to help. But those relationships that I've built and watching your business, watching your business grow, and watching many others that have been involved in all of our events to where they started. And I was proud to be connected and never hesitated. Boy, if you need this, people reach out to me all the time. Who was that person? Oh, that was Robert with, Bella Media, or, that was Becky doing all the face painting. And I've just watched their business grow. I never hesitate to share all of that because it takes a village, and all of you and all the community partners have been good to the Y. That it's been a win-win for all of us.
Yeah, we were honored to be there at that event where you got honored in that way.
Thank you.
We're honored to tell the story of that event and to hear more of your story here. If someone wanted to catch Roxanne Davis at a body pump class, what's that schedule going to look like for you?
I made sure before I retired from my current position that when I came back, I would still teach my classes because my class was very concerned about that. Once again, that's that community that if you've ever gone to a class, you build that relationship with the instructor. And 9 times out of 10, it's not what you're teaching, it's the person that is teaching and the relationship you build and the trust you build. And it's pretty amazing. But yes, Monday and Wednesday at 9:35 in the morning at Shadow Bend, and then also teach 4:30 on Friday afternoon at Branch Crossing. We recently opened up the Holcomb YMCA that's more on the east side, and they've already reached out to me. If you want to pick up another class, just let us know because I can ride my bike there. So more to come on that.
Well, as we get close to wrapping up here, Roxanne, as we think about the amazing 30 years that you've had, but more so than that, just the life that you've lived. Along the way, you've done a lot of things right. And there's risks and things that you decided to step into, such as, maybe coaching soccer or that. What are some advice that you could give to someone as far as, from your experience, things that you would highly recommend people do sooner than later?
From what I've learned, never hesitate to ask for help. You may think you know it all, but there is somebody out there that has a little bit more experience. Take advantage of all your network. You might be surprised of what this person knows and what this person knows, and then you put it all together to make it happen. So I always say just continue to ask. I mean, when one event is over, I immediately go back to the staff and volunteers. What did you see that went right? Where can we improve? I mean, tell me this now before you forget it. And I've already started working on next year's event based on what happened at the current event. And so many times, there's, and for the most part, the things that need to be improved are more behind the scenes. The general public didn't see that. But there's always room to grow. There's always a way to do it better. And just because you've done it that way for 10 years doesn't mean that you can't do something a little different the next year. And to be gracious and respectful and to appreciate the volunteers, because you cannot do it without the volunteers as well as the staff. I always took good care of them, made sure they were well fed. What people will do for a shirt or a sweatshirt is pretty incredible, but reward them and listen to them. Really take time to listen. And whether you want to hear their feedback or not, it's important. So that was really, I think, my takeaway. And just keep those relationships going. We've had some incredible board members at the Y that I have been blessed with friendship. Their tenure as a board member has come and gone, but we still stay connected. Same way with staff. Same way with community partners. We're all in this together. And it takes a village to serve the community. So it's not just about one organization. It's about all of us coming together to serve the community. And once again, I think just be sincere and gracious and be true to yourself and never hesitate to step out of your box a little bit. That's really how the dance started. So
Wise words, wise words. Well, finally, as we wrap up, knowing Scott, knowing Andy, and knowing you, I know that faith is important to your family, and that's been instilled in almost every event I've been at. There's been an element of faith that's come into that. How important is your faith to you, and where did your faith come from?
Well, yes. And of course, the YMCA is built on Christianity. That's the history of the Y. It stands for Young Men's Christian Association. And again, the Y started as a result of a group of men in the rail yards way back when in England. They were just, there wasn't any positive opportunities for them to do. They spent way too much time drinking and getting into trouble. And somebody saw that. And they started a Bible study group. And that was the beginning of the Y. They were responding to a critical need in that particular little community at the time. And, even in this day and time where sometimes it's difficult to stay true to your religious beliefs, the Y has never lost their Christian background. And we're very proud of it. Yeah. Now, back to the answer to your question, I was born and raised Catholic, in a Christian family, went to Catholic school. We went to Mass every Sunday. Faith has always been a major part of our family. My son and my husband both have been ministering in church for many, many, many years, sharing their gifts of music, audio, and bringing the worship bands to life, making them sound good, and been doing that for probably 20 or 30 years, from startup churches to here we are, I'm going to use Woods Edge as an example because they were a little startup church when my husband got involved with them. They used to meet at a school, and now they have this, big mega church, off of Gosling, and have a lot of startup churches that they support. And then my son Andy followed right behind as their sound guy and helped them grow. So yes, faith is very big with us, absolutely, and with the YMCA as well.
Yeah, we've brought Andy into our church to help out with our men's conference that we do once a year, and so he travels and mixes the band that's there for that. So he's your whole family is a joy to be around. The energy that comes from each one of you, just being beside you, it makes myself and others want to move more, want to smile more. So Roxanne Davis, you're an inspiration. I know this is not the end. This is just the next chapter, and I cannot wait to see what's next.
Yes, me too.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.